We have finally reached the point of the year where there's really only one weekend left of the professional volleyball season, and that means it is the Champions League final this weekend. Let's go. If you're not aware, this weekend on May 16th and May 17th, four of the best men's volleyball teams will be descending upon Torino to battle it out for the CEV Champions League. And now, if you haven't been following the Champions League this year, there's 4 teams left in the competition. On one side, on the one semifinal, we have Ziraat Perugia out of Italy taking on Projekt Warszawa out of Poland. And then on the other side, we have Zawiercie out of the Polish Plus Liga taking on Ziraat Ankara out of the Turkish League. I won't lie to you guys. I honestly think 3 of these teams have a legitimate shot to bring home this trophy. No offense to Projekt Warszawa, I just don't think they really stack up to these other 3 teams. We have 3 league champions here, which is huge, a lot better than last year. But also, Projekt Warszawa will be without Bartosz Bednarz in this competition, so they will be going to the bench, and that is going to be a huge blow to a team that, in my opinion, is already a little bit behind the other 3. But for the other 3 teams, I mean, this is going to be an absolutely huge weekend. On one hand, you have Perugia. This is a team who's looking to go back-to-back, to win 2 in a row, to be able to write themselves into the storybooks of CEV volleyball and really establish themselves as probably the premier club in the world right now. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have a couple of first-timers. Zawiercie did make the finals last, but things are much, much different this year. Not only are they a lot healthier, but they're also coming in having won the Plus Liga. On the other side of the bracket, you have a Ziraat Bank team who not only has never won the CEV Champions League, a Turkish team has never won the CEV Champions League. But as I have said before this year, I would not be surprised at all if this was the first year we see a Turkish team stand on top of the podium. Now, we're going to start off by previewing Warszawa against Perugia. And honestly, I think Warszawa is really in tough, especially since they lost Bartosz Bednarz during the Plus Liga bronze medal. We did see Alexander Śliwka come in as the medical joker for this team, but that is not possible in the Champions League. So instead of Bednarz, they're going to have to go to the bench in Canadian Brandon Coppers. And, you know, I love Coppers. I've been watching him back since his days with Pac-Man. But against this Perugia team, this is one of the best teams in volleyball, and I just don't think Warszawa stacks up. They have a really rare combination of having complete star power on their team. They've got guys like Gianelli, like Plotnitsky, Lozère, of course, Semeniuk. They are just solid in every single position, but they can also dominate you in every phase of the game, just like we saw them do to Lube in the finals of the Lega Volley. Right, when you look at Perugia, this is a team who has really only lost 3 matches all year. They lost the Coppa Italia final to Verona earlier this season. And then we did have a slight worry where we were like, hey, what is happening with Perugia when they lost back-to-back to Verona and Trentino all the way back in November? But other than that, they have been unblemished and have really just dominated their way through the season. And now, once again, nothing against Projekt Warszawa. I have a little bit of bias for this team. They've got a Canadian Brandon Coppers. Former Canadian libero Blair Ban is one of their assistant coaches. But when you look at this team and how they've played this season, I just don't think they stack up to Perugia well at all. And I mean, you could also kind of say they maybe got a little bit lucky by playing a bit of a beaten down Lublin in the quarterfinals to be able to get here, because we all know how Lublin just dominated Warszawa in the Plus Liga semifinals just a couple weeks after. And Warszawa is a team that is pretty good at all positions. You know, they've got guys like Kevin Tilley. Their middles are really solid with Yuri Semeniuk and Jakub Kofinowski. Definitely one of the best middle pairings in the world. They've got Damian Wojciech as their libero. Like, this is a very solid team in all positions. But once again, I think they just miss a little bit of star power. For Warszawa to really be able to knock Perugia off the game, they're going to have to serve really, really tough. And I just don't see that from this roster, especially without Bednarz. One way I do see Warszawa potentially having a chance in this game is by serve receiving really, really well. When you look at their back line in terms of serve receive with Tilly and Wojciech and Koppers, that's actually a really good serve receive line. So if they're able to put Jan Firle into a good position where he can unleash the middles and really spread that ball around as much as possible, that may give them a chance because Kokonowski runs a really, really fast ball. And we know you can move him around, right? You can run a 31 with him, especially if you're a little bit further off the net, or if you can run him just straight up at a 51. And it doesn't matter if the blockers in front of him are keying in on him because he hits that ball just so fast out of the setter's hand. It's tough for any blocker of the world to get up against. And then on the other side, you have Yuri Semeniuk, who is an absolute beast. And while offensively he may not be at the level of some of the other guys, he is also one of the best blockers in the world. So I think if we see Firle start opening up to that 31 to give a bit of a gap because he's going to create space on the backside for Bartosz Gomułka. And Gomułka isn't overly powerful, but he does have a lot of control and a lot of length. And he's a guy that not really many people know all much about, right? He took the starting role from Linus Weber towards the end of the season, and he has been really, really steady for this team. So I think they're going to try to open some things up, especially because they're going to be missing some of that Bednor's power on the left side, and Tilly and Koppers just aren't going to have it offensively. So for Warszawa to have a chance in this match, I really think that they need to be really good in serve receive. They need to run that middle and to be able to create a gap for Gomułka on the backside. But then also their block defense needs to be impeccable. And they have the potential to do that, right? Kokonowski is one of the best closers in the game. He goes side to side really fast. Yuri Semeniuk is just straight up one of the best blockers in the game as well. So they have the chance to be able to slow things down and slow Perugia down at the net quite a bit. And then on the back end, you've got guys like Firle, who's a pretty good defender. Wojciech is a fantastic defender, and so is Kevin Tilly. So there is a chance for them to slow Perugia down with their block defense. However, the problem is Perugia as well is really good with their block defense game, right? This is a team that is very, very patient. And because they block really, really well as a unit, it really opens things up for them on the defensive side of things to allow their guys to really just sit in the opening, sit in the gaps, and make plays defensively. On top of that, Perugia is very, very, very patient. They don't mind using that block and just, recycling and recycling and recycling until they see an opening in their offense. And while Warszawa may have the edge in serve receive, Perugia definitely has the advantage offensively. This is an offense run by one of the best setters in the world, one of the best game managers in the world, and they have options literally everywhere, of course, led by Ben Tara on the right side, but they've got options down the middle. You've got Semeniuk and Plotnitsky on the outside, and you've got Ben Tara who can just overwhelm you on the right side as well. So as good as Warszawa is in block defense, Perugia just has the skill and the patience to just overwhelm that. And then when you flip that on the other side, I don't really think Warszawa has the offensive power to really put stress on Perugia's block defense. And I think Perugia is going to be missing points inside out. They're going to be able to make those up in transition. So I think this one is either going to be 3-0 or at max 3-1 for Perugia. Now, on the other side of the draw, this is going to be an absolutely spicy match. And honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, it's way too close to call. You've got two teams who have never seen each other before, who have never matched up before, who are looking for their first Champions League title, and two teams who are honestly very deserving of that title as well. These are two teams who are very steady and don't have a lot of weaknesses. But before talking about their personnels, I'm actually going to talk about their coaches. Now, on paper, everyone pretty much knows who Michał Winiarski is. He was a legend for Poland, and he's been prominent on the international stage and as well here with Zawiercie over the past couple of years. And on the other hand, Mustafa Kavas isn't as well known unless you're very familiar with Ziraat Bank or within that Turkish volleyball circle. But I will say, I honestly think this is going to be a very, very good coaching matchup. I think Mustafa Kavas is one of the best game planners out there. And we can really see this the way that they have dominated Trentino in pool play. Of course, game number 2 was a bit of a nothing burger considering that Micheletto wasn't there. But for game 1, that's when they had their team and they absolutely dominated the Unicorn and Trentino 3-0. But it wasn't just this year, it was also last year, where Ziraat Bank came out of nowhere to win their first ever European title by first and foremost upsetting Trentino in the semifinals. And that was Trentino at full mass with Lavia, with Micheletto, with Rich Licky as well. This is the team that won the Scudetto, and then upsetting Resovia in the finals as well. Everyone thought it was going to be a Resovia against Trentino final, and Ziraat Bank came in to win it. Now, it is a different team this year for Ziraat Bank, but in so many ways, it's so much better than the team we saw last year. But a lot of that success, in my opinion, is due to the game planning we've seen from Mustafa Kavas. On the other side of things, Mikhail Winiarski, honestly, I'm going to say I don't think he's as good as a game planner. And we saw that maybe with Germany over the course of the World Championships, where maybe they left some wins on the table, especially against Slovenia. But where he is leaving a little to be desired in the game planning, he is an exceptional game manager. And that may have something to do with he has played at the highest levels and been in those tough situations. This Zawiercie team is a team that knows how to get into fistfights, that knows how to go long. And to me, it's all because of Winiarski's demeanor and calmness on the sideline. Kavas can get a little excitable at times, both positively and negatively. But for anyone who's ever had an emotional coach, you know that there's going to be that roller coaster sometimes. There's not nearly as much of that roller coaster with Mikhail Winiarski. And while I'm not going to say they won't be prepared, because this is one of the best teams in the world, they're definitely going to be prepared, but they're also ready to make adjustments mid-game. So I think it's going to be a really interesting chess match between these two teams. Now, starting with Ziraat Bank, this is a team that has so much star power. They have Mario level star power out there with Namir Abdelaziz, Trevor Klevno, and Tomasz Fornal. That is probably the best outside trio in the game, bar none. You've got one of the best scorers of all time in Namir Abdelaziz on the right side, a guy who can take over the match at any point. And then you also have two of the best ball control outsides, two of the players with the best vision in the game of volleyball on the left side. And now, one of the things that I've been most impressed by Ziraat Bank this year is the fact that they haven't just played Namir ball, and they've really gotten to this point by spreading that ball around. On top of all this, I think where their strength really lies is the fact that the other Turkish guys around them are all really strong and just create a really strong base for the other three superstars to really just play off of. Down the middle, you have Emre Savas and Bediran Bulbul. These are two guys who I think are super underrated. They play a big part in the offense. They get set quite a bit. And that's a lot because of Murat Yenipazar, who I think is one of the most underrated setters in the world, who has a really good ability to just spread that ball around. He loves running his middles, especially in transition. And then on top of that, they have the Turkish national team libero, Berke Baraktar, who is pretty solid in both receive and defense, but he knows how to get up for big matches. And this is hands down one of the biggest matches he's ever played so far. But as I said, this is just a team who can overwhelm you with so much talent, right? It's really hard to game plan for a team that has Namir and Klevno and Fornal. If one of the guys isn't playing well, you can just go to the next guy. If you game plan to shut down one guy, you can just go to the next guy. And then on top of that, they're running at you down the middle intermittently as well, and it's just really hard to keep your head and really just stay level-headed. And because of that, Ziraat Bank has absolutely dominated this year. Like, they've lost 2 matches all year long, and other than that, they have really just flown through the Efrela Ligi and the Champions League this year. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is one of the most talented Turkish teams I've ever seen, because on top of all of the talent out there, when you look at their bench, they've got guys like Finnish Jonas Jonkala, they've got Paolo Zonka, Dick Coy. Like, they've got other options to go to if, heaven forbid, one of their stars aren't making it happen. That's why I honestly think this Ziraat Bank team could win it all this weekend. But on the other side, you have a Zawiercie team who is one of the most steady teams in volleyball. This is a gritty team who has learned how to win. They finished number 1 in the Plus Liga this year. They battled through the playoffs, won that for their first championship as well. And this is a team I honestly love to watch play. There's no doubt Ziraat Bank has a lot of star power, and I'm honestly going to say Zawiercie has pretty much none of that. Ziraat Bank has a lot of A pluses, but you've got a lot of A's and a lot of really good players in all the positions for Zawiercie. And for me, it all starts in the middle. Even though he's 42-year-old, Yuri Glider is still outstanding. I mean, in game number 5 in the Plus Liga finals, he had over a double landy line. He had 11 points on just 5 attempts, including 5 blocks and an ace. And then you have Matus Biniak, who is another one of the most lethal middle blockers in the world. These are two guys who can block at the net, they can attack at the net, and they can also cause problems from the baseline. But then on top of that, you also have a very, I'm going to call them gritty. Aaron Russell and Bartosz Kwolek is a really gritty, really good ball control duo on the left side. I think Aaron Russell has been playing at an MVP level for not only this season, but last season as well. Kwolek is a guy who is great in ball control. He knows how to score in different ways, and he's gritty. He's ready to get into a fist fight. And he said himself to Polish media that he wasn't happy with his playoff performance for Zawiercie down the stretch, and I'm expecting them a really good Champions League weekend. And then on the right side, you have a Bart Bovanj, who a lot of people, maybe including myself, have called him a choker in the past, but I think he has really proven himself throughout the course of this playoff series that he's able to go out there and compete with the best and be a go-to player in big game situations. But I think what really just ties it all together is Miguel Tavares. Miguel Tavares is, talking about underrated setters. He's another underrated setter, kind of a story of two of the most underrated setters in the world. And Tavares, his athleticism really just opens up the game. He's really learned how to manage his offense as well. This is one of the best offensive teams in the Plus Liga, and they don't really have some of the star power some of the other teams have. They don't have that one go-to guy. Yes, Aaron Russell can be that guy, but they can also go to Bovanj, or we've seen Kwolek be outstanding too, or they can get a lot of options down the middle. To me, it's all because of how Tavares runs this offense. They are outstanding in first ball side out offense because they have 5 really good offensive options and they can run 4 guys at any given time. And Tavares really has that ability to fling the ball pin to pin, right? He's so strong with his hands that he can just huck it right side, left side, middle. It doesn't matter. In transition, his athleticism really helps open up the game because he's so athletic and gets to the ball so fast. He can slow down the game when it needs to be slowed down, or he can push the tempo when they need to as well. And that's what I love about the Zawiercie team is they play a very aggressive offensive style, and I absolutely love it. Rounding out the rest of this roster, you have Jakub Piwczak, who is one of the best defenders in the game as well. So they are just solid everywhere, and it's really hard to find a weakness on this Zawiercie team. Zawiercie hasn't been as impeccable with their record as teams like Ziraat Bank or Perugia, but this is still one of the best teams in the world. But we have seen them struggle in kind of 2 situations. One, against a team who plays really, really fast, like an Osaka Blue Tian, and the number with a team who can really overwhelm you with talent from a single point, like we saw with Lublin in game number 3, or even going back to when they lost to Zaksa in game number 1 of the Plus Liga quarterfinals, and Rich Licky just went absolutely off on them. Sometimes when someone is just really hot, they tend to struggle stopping that player. And the thing is, playing against this Ziraat Bank team, that is potentially going to happen. Not only can they overwhelm you with talent at every single position, but they tend to play the ball really, really fast, especially when they're going out to the left side. Both Klevno and Fornal are guys who like to hit fast balls, and they can be tricky with it, right? They can throw it off the block. They can hit that fastball. They can throw it into the seam. They can go down the line. They can go cross court. They have so many options available to them. So there may be a potential here for Zawiercie just to be completely overwhelmed by the talent on the Ziraat Bank side. And on top of all this, I think Ziraat Bank's block defense is going to be a huge key to their success. And that's really what we saw with them against Trentino. Kavas is going to game plan masterfully, I guarantee it. And he's going to know every single one of Tavares' tendencies in every single situation, especially in 6-back. They're going to be moving around quite a bit because you got Klevno and Fornal back there, who are 2 very good defenders as well. And they're going to be on point in and point out. But the thing is when gaming planning for Trentino, Kavas really only had to game plan for like 2 guys. So it's really not that much as what you have to game plan when you're game planning against Zawiercie, because they can really beat you anywhere. And there's not one guy who Zawiercie is going to go continuously to over and over again. They're going to spread that ball around and really feed that hot hand. But as soon as you shut them down, they're going to be able to go elsewhere. And that adds another layer to it too, because, if comparing Zawiercie to Trentino, Tavares is a much better setter than Spertoli. This is a guy who can run a much more varied offense and can hide his sets a little bit better. So I think that Tavares is really going to put Ziraat Bank in a tough position because he's going to be the best setter their team has seen all year long. And now on the other side of the court, as good as Ziraat Bank is on the outside, they really love playing down the middle, especially in transition, right? That's how they really catch teams off guard because in transition, they're expecting Yanni Pazar to go to the outside and they hit you with a fast ball. Oftentimes, Bubul and Savas are just hitting one-on-ohs. But the thing is, Zawiercie's really good at blocking the middle. In the finals against Lublin, even when the pass was there for Komenda to run the middle, both Biniak and Glader were usually fronting the middle and just smothering everything that can go down in the middle. However, on the flip side of this, if Zawiercie is able to shut down the middle, that almost plays into Ziraat Bank's game plan because of how talented they are on the outside as well. So if Ziraat Bank is going to be fronting the middles like they did against Lublin, it's not just one player on the other side who's going to hurt you like Leon. It's going to be all three of the other players who can potentially bury you. I think the game plan for Ziraat Bank is going to be key. It's going to be follow the game plan that Mustafa Kavas set up, especially in first ball side out, and then really just let your talent overwhelm on the other side. Let your hitters play ball, let Namir go off, and let Klevno and Fornal do their thing on the left side. But for Zawiercie, I'm really looking for them to dominate in every phase of the game, like they did against Lube in the quarters, right? Serve tough. Yeah, I don't think you're going to beat up Ziraat Bank's passing lineup with guys like Fornal, Klevno, and Baraktar, but at least maybe you can put them in a bad spot so that they're not able to run the middle and then set things up in block defense. Because I honestly think that if this game goes longer, if this game goes to 5, if this game turns into a bit of a fist fight where it's just haymaker from one team, haymaker to the other team, going back and forth, that is advantage Zawiercie. For Ziraat Bank to win this game, I think they need to completely overwhelm Zawiercie. But if this game is close and this game goes to 5, I think the advantage goes to Zawiercie because they've got guys who are ready to play defense, who are ready to go the extra mile. You've got two real emotional leaders down the middle in Glader and Biniak. You've got Kwolek, who's ready to get in a fist fight at any time. And you've got Aaron Russell, who can really just be the calm in the storm at any point. We talked about the block defense of Ziraat Bank. I think Zawiercie's block defense is going to be huge in this one too. Glader and Biniak, that's once again two of the best middles in the world. They're going to be able to take away angles from the talented Ziraat Bank hitters. But then you've got guys like Folek, Tavares, and of course Papivcek, who's one of the best defenders in the world, playing defense on the Zawiercie side. And I am a little bit worried for Ziraat Bank in the fact that this team is not really battle tested. This is not a team who knows how to get into a fist fight. This is a team who has really overwhelmed their opponents all year long, mainly due to the fact that they've had a pretty easy run in the Champions League, right? They only had that one tough match against Trentino. And then the second time they played them, Micheletto wasn't there. So it was a lot easier. They had to play Resovia in the quarters, and that was just whatever. And then the FA League just doesn't have the talent on any of the other teams to really compete with this Ziraat Bank team. So I'm wondering what we're going to see from Ziraat Bank because they've been off a little bit longer too, and they haven't been able to get into a fist fight like we've seen Zawiercie do pretty much all season long, playing in one of the toughest leagues in the world in Poland. So like I said, if this match goes long, my money is on Zawiercie. And for Ziraat Bank to win, I think they're just going to really need to overwhelm Zawiercie in 3 or maybe 4 sets to be able to get their ticket to the final. But honestly, I think this match is 50-50. It's going to go either way, and I can't wait to watch it. Now, once again, no offense to Warszawa. I just don't think they have a chance to be able to make the final, considering how good Perugia is and who they're missing on their side. But whoever they play in the finals, I think we're going to have a really good matchup regardless. On one hand of it, like if we're going to say Ziraat Bank wins the semifinal, I think Ziraat Bank is one of the few teams in the world who can match up with the star power of Perugia. Perugia's strength is really the fact that, yes, they have one of the best setters in the world in Simone Gianelli, but their outside trio of Kamil Semeniuk, Ole Plotnitsky, and Wasim Bentara is one of the best in the world. The only better outside trio in the world is playing on the other side of the net for Ziraat Bank. Realistically, the only team to have continued success, and even then it was only 50-50 against Perugia this year, was Verona. And Verona, while they did have a fantastic setter, one of the other best setters in the world in Micah Christensen, they really only had two offensive options at any times in Darlin and Nomori Keita. So I think even though you have a slight downgrade in Muratieni Pazar for Ziraat Bank, you have so many options of guys who can just take over on the Ziraat Bank side of things. So that's where I think, it could be a star-studded affair where any one of these guys could just go above and beyond and just bring too much to the table for Perugia to handle. And on top of that, while I'm sure Cavas' full attention is on Zawiercie in the semifinals, he's looking on the other side and he's not he knows who they're probably going to play in the finals if they get there. And given all the time they've had after their last match, he's already going to have a game plan ready to play against Perugia for the final. So I'm really excited to potentially see that matchup. And then on the other side of things, if Zawiercie wins their semifinal, this is a team who can actually compete with Perugia in every single phase of the game, right? They compete with them in serve, receive. They can compete with them in first ball side out. They can compete with them with their block defense, and they can compete with them in just overall transition game as well. Perugia is a team who, yes, they have some fantastic servers. Gianelli's fantastic. Plotnitsky can be one of the best sometimes. Same thing with Vesim Bentara. But they do take their foot off the gas once in a while. The way that Lorenzetti likes to play is he would prefer to make less errors, thus make less aces, but also make less errors and initiate more rallies. And they do this because they are so patient and they're so good with their block defense. They know the longer a rally goes, the more chance they have to win. But the thing is, against Zawiercie, that's also the way they like to play. And while their game isn't necessarily patience, they just know how to take hit after hit after hit and get up and still keep playing, right? This is a team who is fantastic in block defense. They're going to make play after play after play and maybe test that patience of Perugia a little bit throughout the match. And because Perugia isn't going to be serving that tough, that's really where there's going to be a lot of openings for Zawiercie's offense, especially in games 2 and 3, the games that Lublin won in the finals. Lublin was very good from the baseline, and they were able to get Tavares off the net and get him off his game a little bit, and not really run the middle as much. If Perugia isn't going to be able to get Zawiercie off the net, which is really tough, right? Russell, Pivchek, Folek, that is a very good passing lineup. That's really just going to open things up for Tavares to run the middle. That's honestly where I think Zawiercie matches up best with Perugia, right? When you look at their two middles in Glader and Biniak, there's a little bit more physicality on that side. And it doesn't matter whether it's Lozère or Soleil, because we saw Soleil go down with an injury in game number 3 of the Lega Volley finals. We know Lozère is still coming back. And then, of course, you've got Roberto Russo, who is still really solid in his own, but both Biniak just plays at a much higher level, and Glader just comes in with brute force. So if they have the ability to really engage the middles, and that's honestly what we're going to see from Tavares. I think especially in the semifinal match, we're going to see Tavares really engage and involve the middles in the offense early on. If they're able to do that, they may have the ability to just overwhelm Perugia at every stage. And then once you get to that secondary stage of the block defense and the transition, Zawiercie can play along with Perugia's game of patience. As I've said from the get-go, guys, this is really too hard to call. You've got 3 champions of their various leagues, 3 teams who honestly deserve this championship, and 3 teams who have the staff, the players, and just the ability to go out and win it. So I honestly can't wait to watch. Unfortunately, if you've been a fan of my watch-along streams for whether it was the Women's CEV Champions League or any of the playoff rounds, I will not be doing any this weekend for the CEV Men's Champions League. I'm going to be away in the woods camping. So while I will be watching the match probably on my phone, much to the disdain of my girlfriend, I will not have the ability to do a watch-along stream, unfortunately. But If you do want a community of people to watch this game with, come over and join us on the Volleyball Source Discord. It is the best online volleyball community in the world. It's a great place to watch the games, and it's just a good resource to have at all time if you ever need anything from the volleyball world. But like I said, make sure you watch the Champions League this weekend because you will not regret it.